All right, here I am. Here I am. 3 likes already. That's crazy. What's up, Jerry? Okay. So, we got to be careful now, y'all, because I decided to try to monetize this live stream. So, we need to keep it clean, and y'all know what I mean. What's up, Mr. Mike? So, help me out, keep it clean, and so I don't get demonetized. I think the super chat thing will work too. What's up, Scott? Steven. Yeah, you like that one? I got it was crazy. I didn't know what to expect on that dude. And getting the thing, I don't know. It just seemed kind of fishy that somebody did a uh, paint job rebuild and just threw some paint on it and a fancy chrome pan and called it good and sent it out the door. And this guy got handed the short end of the stick. Okay, no 4-letter words. I'm at a working establishment. Well, that's kind of wide open there, Mike. But yeah, that was crazy. It didn't start out too bad. I found some good things, but just there was too much that was already starting off on the wrong foot, and it just kind of got me to curious. And the further I went into this thing, the worse it got. So, you know, I guess it takes all types of people, and it's sad. I felt sorry for the guy that got this thing. It wow. There was a lot of things that I was thinking I really wanted to say, but I tried to keep it clean. Steven, it's both. He brought it to me because he wanted to do well. First off, they were skeptical about whether or not the thing had actually been built or not. And as you've seen in the video, we found out that it really wasn't. It had a couple of good things in it, but other than that, no, nobody, I don't even think they got any seal kits for it. They just put some new clutches here and there and called it rebuilt, and it was far from it. So the plan is, if you guys are out here, you get the gist of it before it gets published. I am making videos on it, but this one, um, yeah, that's exactly right, Jerry. But so the plan is, I still need to go through the pump and the valve body, and I want to see if he did anything to either one of them or what kind of shape either one is. And I seriously want to look at the pump alignment because that thing had to have been way off to be that stuck in that case. And I mean, that was probably the worst one I'd ever seen in my life. And I can't tell you how many of these transmissions I've been through. Um, it was in the heyday when I was in dealership that I was doing these left and right, and never never have I had one that bad. But I want to get the pump apart to see, if they did anything with it. I mean, it's already got witness marks on the lip around the top, where they had hammered it in because, I mean, it divoted the aluminum there. I mean, you had to hit it pretty hard to divot that aluminum. If I tap one in, it's usually with the butt end of a hammer, and it'll usually flop right down in there, but, uh, never like that. And, I'm surprised that they didn't cut the stator shaft O-rings, the seals, the little Teflon seals when they hammered it in, because usually those are the first things that go. But again, they were used, they weren't new. If they were new, they probably would have been done for. But so I want to take the pump apart. I want to see if they've put, an oversized boost valve in it, um, and a regulator valve, and if they did anything with the TV circuit, and whether or not it's leaking or not. And of course, look at the pump vanes and the pockets, and see if they're all scored up, and what kind of condition that stuff is in. Um, and then I need to go through the valve body and look at it also, and check a couple of things out, see if they've done anything with the TCC regulator, um, and the accumulator feed, and all that kind of good stuff. But after discussing it with the customer, well, my buddy and anything else, we decided that I'd rather start with a case that has been unmolested. Well, either that or it's done more towards stock trim than I would having one that's, had holes plugged off and added stuff in there and just beat up the way this one is. So he's already brought me another core. Um, so after I get done with inspecting the rest of this one, I'll box it up, and then I'll make a video on tearing down the other core, um, which already looks like it's better. And I guess it was a Jasper reman at one time, so it's been rebuilt once before. Oh, I absolutely agree, Mike. Steven, probably not. Uh, the chrome don't make it go any faster, and most of the time it just leaks. Um, I've never had anything chrome, period. If they got chrome on that sealing surface, it almost always leaks. Chrome's just that slick, and it just causes things to wick. I mean, it might seal and it might not, but with that piece of inner tube that they got stuck around that drain plug, hard telling. At 100 horsepower. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna have that other core down. I mean, you guys seem to like the tear downs, and more of you like the builds, because it from what the feedback that I get, hardly anybody ever does the build part of the transmission, and I have no problem doing it if it's something you guys enjoy. I mean, it just takes a little longer and it's repetitive because I've already got a couple videos out here of me building some. But everyone, a lot of things are similar, but a lot of stuff doesn't change. Um, but anyway, the reason why he brought it to me is he wanted to convert this one. He needs one with an input speed sensor on it, and it can be done on an older case without much problem. Um, but you have to change the input shaft, as it needs the reluctor on it, and then there's and the pump has to change because the input speed sensor bolts to the pump, and that's how that dude works. And the the plug for the input speed sensor actually comes up through the uh, the access hole for the um, boost valve. So if you've got one with an input speed sensor, if you want to change that boost valve, you can't do it in the car. On one of those, you actually have to take the trans out and take the pump out to be able to change that boost valve. That's just the way they're designed. So Well, Danny, I've got 4L80 videos out there, and I've got a couple. I've got a couple of cores here, so I mean, it's possible if somebody wants a 4L80 or 6L80 or an 8L90, I can always build any of those. I can build a 10L80 if I need to, but I don't like those too much. They're uh, they're rather complex the way they're put together. They're kind of neat, but yeah. Danny, I believe that's probably true, but here's the deal with the 2-inch lift that GM claims. It's not a suspension lift. That's where everybody gets it confused. Like my truck, old Bertha, it's got a factory 2-inch lift on it also, but it's in the body. It's not in the chassis. So the HD series trucks all have a factory 2-inch body raise on them, and the reason why they do that is they have to clear the size of the Allison transmission because that Allison's huge. It's Bristol, baby. Speaking of Bristol, did any of you get to watch Cletus McFarland on that Bristol 1000 that he did? Holy cow, that was apparently a riot, and they had a nasty crash. Haley Deegan was in the middle of the wreck, and a couple of others that he has a couple of NASCAR driver friends that come to the event and participate in it, and it was pretty hairy. Well, Danny, then it's only 621 there, but you can ship things anywhere. It just costs a little money. I don't think it'd be cost effective. I don't know what I did, Danny, but you're welcome. I'm If it's something I did and helped you, I mean, I'm glad I could do something for you. I got to put my spectacles on. I can't read what you're saying. When I came back from Missouri the last time, I couldn't believe the amount of traffic that I went through on the way home. It was just crazy. I mean, when I went up there, um, it was about the time that the fuel prices were going through the roof. And I was up there for about 3 weeks, and then when I came back but when I went up there, it was kinda eerie because, I mean, there was, like, hardly any traffic. It's almost like watching a Road Warrior movie where where you get hardly anybody out there, and then, it comes back. It was crazy, but on the way back, there was a ton of traffic both ways. Trucks, cars, RVs, you name it. There was a crap load of them. It was bizarre, but, yeah, it was quite the trip. Hopefully, I don't have to do another one of them for a while. On a side note, so I guess I'm gonna do some repairs on my fifth wheel because, just with the way things are going with the economy and everything else, we decided that probably just gonna fix what we got for now, and, just use it to camp in. I mean, it's not too bad. We're ready for something new, but we can't afford it. So, and we're both kind of looking at a driver. I think I'd really like a Class C. Of course, it's got to be a GM chassis. I mean, I'd like to have a Super C that's on like a Gulfstream or a Jayco Seneca or something like that. Um, but we'll see. That's gonna Economy's gonna have to get better. You're gonna have to build up some confidence among what's gonna happen because right now it ain't there, and I don't want to tie myself down with any kind of debt if I can avoid it. You got an 85 citation? Hell yes. Is it an X11? Those are kinda rare to find, but man, those were alright. The X11s were, had the 2.8 liter V6 in it, but they were iron-headed. You couldn't hardly blow them damn things up. I mean, they were fantastic, and they ran good. I actually had a buddy that when I was growing up, he ran a Bredo Pizza, and, if you guys never had Bredo Pizza, they were fantastic. I don't know if you can still look them up or if there's still any of them still around, but they were so good. Their crust was fantastic, made the dough from scratch, they grated the cheese right there in-house, all sorts of stuff. But anyway, he had a yellow Citation that he used to drive to and from, uh, Chillicothe and Missouri. He used to drive down towards Kansas City, and, he'd drive it home on the weekends. Before that, he had a, 74 Impala with a 307 in it. Big old boat. You couldn't hurt that car, but that's freaking awesome. I can't believe you found one of those that are still in existence. Shoot, that car's what, 33 years old? Something like that? Man, I remember those cars vividly. In fact, I worked on one that had a diesel in it, and, this guy drove this thing everywhere. Wow, look at that. Somebody's got a small block Chevy with a tune port in here for sale for 2 grand. Whew! They've got a set of Chevrolet valve covers that they modified that were perimeter bolt, and they put the center bolts right up through the middle of this thing. Oh my goodness. This is a Hackenbush special. Wow, it's an '87 model. Manual transmission with a huge old clutch on the back of it. Less than 100 miles and the engine fully built from top to bottom. Scotty's Machine Shop. Also has T56 that was mounted up to it. Everything works as it should. He went to LS. He went to the dark side. 2 grand though. Are you kidding? Wow. Well, thanks, Purple Border Collie. I it's been a while since I posted something. That's for dang sure. Uh, just been so stupid busy, and my weekends have been tied up pretty bad with doing outside stuff normally because the weather's starting to cool off a little bit, but it's still been raining. I mean, it rains almost every day down here this year. It's been super wet. And so our pasture, if you don't stay on top of it, that thing will get away from you and nothing flat. And so I've been having to mow almost every weekend, which is unusual for down here. Yeah, I've seen them, Jerry. Now I haven't seen them since about 4 or 5 o'clock, but I did see your videos for sure. What we got here? Look at that dude. What? Check this out, guys. So this old boy's got an 87 Ford Travel Grand Villa RV with a 454 pusher. Interesting. I've never seen a 454 pusher. Dang, the thing actually looks pretty nice. Grand Villa. The gauges on this thing look like something that came out of my boat. That is too crazy. I have not seen a gas pusher motorhome. Absolutely wild. That's crazy. Anyway, yeah, what was I gonna say? I was looking for something. Can't remember what it was now. I've drawn a blank. I'll read y'all's comments again and see if there's something I'm missing. Oh, I know what it was. It's amazing how many things are called citation. I just wanted to see if there was another one out down south here. Yeah, watches, golf clubs, promo cars, Hot Wheels, gold medal industrial popcorn machine. There you go. Tow truck's not a bad deal either. The very first place I worked when I was, well, not the first place, but when I was going to school up in Iowa, one of the shops, the first places I worked at was a corner gas station. It was old school. It was I think it was excuse me, an Amoco, if I remember right. But they had an old school, uh, repair shop in the back too, that they did little repairs on stuff. It had a drive on rack, so on and so forth. But they had a tow truck that was an old Dodge 1 ton. It had a 440 in it with like a 4 speed. And it was the old school, had the belt for the pickup on the back. It didn't have a snatcher on like what a lot of new stuff is, but I remember that pretty well. Yeah, it's a crazy old truck. It ran good though. Ooh, excuse me. Remember being 19 and going and working at that place. And as I was getting out of school, I had a job lined up and everything right out of school. Was going to work at Goodyear Independent Repair Shop. It was off of First Street there in West Des Moines, and I come home from work one night. I was still working at the gas station. Come home from work one night, and I had a notice on my door that I was being evicted out of my apartment because apparently while I was gone, my roommates would have parties and just louder and crap going in and out of it, and they basically got me kicked out of my apartment. So I didn't have any money to find another place for a deposit or anything like that, so I ended up coming back home. Um, I was pretty pissed, but I mean, it is what it is. So I came back here and came back to Missouri and started working a job there, and found out how cruel the automotive industry is at times, and struggled and struggled and struggled. And the place I worked, the boss opened another place south south, and I went down there to work for him for a while. But his wife was running that one, and she and I did not get along. She was a redhead, and I don't know if anybody knows anything about redheads, but they are fire. And I wasn't putting up with it, and she didn't like it, and basically I got fired because of it. Only job I've ever been fired, well, I take that back. I was fired from a Firestone too, but that was no loss. That was when I was double working 2 jobs and just having a hell of a time keeping up. But anyway, um, yeah, so I just got out of the automotive industry altogether for a while and, started cooking. Absolutely loved it. Loved doing the cooking thing. Had a lot of fun with it, met a lot of friends, and I just realized that my education was going to waste, cooking. And no, I wasn't working in a fast food joint. I was actually working in a restaurant cooking real food. And so that's when I started trying to find a job, something more in the automotive industry. And that's when I ended up working for Western Auto. I started there and worked there for a year or two. And 97, I landed my first job in the dealership as a wholesale parts guy, and eventually I ended up running they had an A and a B shift, and I was pretty much the night manager slash parts guy. So um, I was kind of like an assistant manager, and really enjoyed that. What's up, Sonny? Sonny from Oklahoma. But anyway, I don't mean to give you my life story. Shoot, there was almost 12 people in here. Look out. I haven't had that many people in here at one time. I don't think. Well, I got a few more people in here last time, but if you do come and you do like what you hear or what you see, or if you like my videos, make sure to give me a thumbs up if you would, please. Again, try to keep it clean because I am trying to monetize this live stream, which you know how YouTube gets. So got to be careful. Um, I think the super chat works too in when you monetize. Right? So I'm all about it. But anyway, so apparently I've had a lot of you guys hit me up about 700R4 stuff. Apparently there's still quite a few of them out there and still quite popular that some are having issues with them and trying to get everything to work. I directed one of you guys, which I'm sure he's not on there tonight, but I don't remember who it is now. But anyway, he's looking for a reman valve body for his 89 G van, I think it is, which is like a Savannah van. Anyway, if you guys sometimes getting a valve body done by somebody else is the way to go, or if you can get one that's put up by Sonex, you're gonna get a good quality piece there. In fact, his was a later model. The there was only two valve bodies that GM made for the 700R4. There was a hydraulic version, excuse me, an electronic version. The hydraulic version was the very first 700s they produced. Like 83, 83 and 84, somewhere around in there. 85, I think it was. And the only thing they did to them is they didn't have a hydraulic. They had a hydraulic torque converter clutch. Those valve bodies are next to impossible to find. Plus, those transmissions they were the first designs of them. They had some serious flaws to them. That's why they kept updating them. So 87 to 90, 93, 92, 93 were all considered electronic valve bodies. In other words, they had electronic torque converter clutch, and they were controlled by switches, pressure switches that they put in the valve body, and a little different gear train. And so those are available. I think it's a GM 044 is the valve body part number from Sonex. You can Google it. They are available through, I do believe, Transtar shows a listing for it. Rock Auto, you can get those valve bodies from Rock Auto. You can get the other Sonex valve bodies from Rock Auto, but that particular one they were out of stock of. So those valve bodies are getting kind of tough to find. I was seriously thinking about picking up a couple of 700R4s because I've been running across them in Marketplace and, start seeing if I can gather up the tools to reman those valve bodies. And I still think that there's a need for them. And if you can't get stock out of them all the time, that just means that they're not getting cores or they're putting them in use. Technically, I've got 3 of them right now. Um, I've got I've got the one that came out of Scarlet. I've got the one that's in the donor car now, and then I've got another one that I was given a long time ago. I don't know what year the one that I was given a while ago. I have to look. I think it was an '86. Um, which you can update them. I do believe that you can update the valve body on those too. I'd have to look, but I think that the core that I had was an '86 because I think somebody was looking for one. And I looked up the tag number on it. I think it was '86. Well, Danny's kind of hard if you're in California, because I'm all the way on the other end of the coast. But I'm flattered. Um, got Mike, you got fired for throwing your boss out of a second floor window. Well, I'd imagine he'd probably fire you too. What, heads on a motor? I don't think so. Uh, Jerry, the 700s aren't just in Camaros. I mean, the only thing that makes them different on the Camaro is the tail housing. But they could have come out of anything. Um, it's just like the early version 4L60Es. They started those in 93, 93, 94. Um, and then 95, they made a change. 96, they started doing a little different stuff. And 99, they were still a 298. And then I think 2000, they went to the 300 millimeter shaft. Um, but yeah, they've been out for a while. They're not, like I said, they're not, they use those 700s and everything. In fact, my aunt had a Caprice Classic that had a 700 R4 in it. It was an '87. I should have bought that car. She offered it to me and I turned it down. I should have bought that thing. That thing was a cream puff. It had a 305 with a 305 with a 700 R4. Had wire wheels on it. It's metallic. It's like charcoal gray with a red velour interior. Pretty common back then. Jerry, the M30 was just the designation for 4L60 or 700R4. At 4L60 usually, where's an M30? That was the classification that they gave, or the option code for the transmission. Um, the M30 was a standard 4L60. The M32 was a 4L65 E, and usually if you find one of those, it'll have 5-gear planets in it and um, 7 clutch 3/4 packs, which means it'll have the thinner fibers and steels in it to make up the pack clearance. That's where this old boy that built this supposedly built this transmission jacked up. He used the thinner fibers with the standard steels, and it didn't have any, excuse me, clutch clearance, which you still got to have clutch clearance on those no matter what. And there wasn't any there. So it would have burnt that clutch up in a hurry. Just little mistakes, like I said when I pointed it out in there, it little mistakes here and there that was just no M32, Jerry, not M31. I don't think they made an M31. It's an M32. Yep, M32. But those are a little harder to find. The M32 they usually put behind a Cadillac Escalade. GMC Denali usually had a 6 liter in front of it. It wouldn't have had a 5.3, just usually a 6 liter. Just a little heavier transmission for a little heavier vehicle. Supposedly more rugged. Usually the 2.4 servo had a bigger surface area on it also. They weren't quite a Corvette servo, but they weren't the base model servo either. Danny, the only real difference between the Tremec TR6060 and the T56 is the torque capacity of the two. The case is designed a little bit different on the TR6060, and the gearing is just a little bit different. But they're basically the same transmission in their own respects. The TR6060 was just it was a little bit beefier. Of course, they were both 6 speeds. Oh, excuse me. Mike, I used to do a lot of the 3 speeds. Manuals, not so much. Usually Super T10 4 speeds, Borg Warners. Saginaw, I messed a little bit with those, not much, but there's not nothing to them. I mean, the old ones were cast iron cases, and you couldn't hardly hurt those things as long as they were set up right. I've dabbled in a few of the T5s. Not very much. Jet-Trag 5 speeds and the front drives, I've done a bunch of them. Well, not a bunch, but I've done quite a few of them. But manual transmissions you don't see a lot of anymore. In fact, I don't know that you can get a manual transmission in a new car anymore. I think you might still be able to get them in a Camaro, but it's rare. Well, they can. I mean, you're not supposed to drop them on yourself, that's for sure. But well, I'm talking about GM wise, Mike. But the Camaro, you can't get a new Corvette with a manual transmission in it. Those days are gone. Last one you could get was a TR6070 in a C7. But that was the last manual you could get. The Camaro, I think you can still get the 6060, the 6 speed. They didn't put the 7-speed in the Camaro, but they did in the Corvette. Again, I don't know that you can get it in a new one. Danny, any core you shouldn't pay more than probably $150 for. It doesn't matter what it is. You shouldn't give more than $150 for a core. That's my book anyway. Because if you're going to go through it, you're still going to have money in it, especially if you're going to build it. Now, 4L80, you don't have as many hard parts that you have to replace usually, because most of that stuff, if y'all have ever done a 4L80, almost everything in it's cast iron. That's why that transmission weighs so much. You know, it cracks me up. It cracks me up when people want to swap out a 4L60 for a 4L80. I understand the cost difference, but that transmission weighs a good 50 pounds more than than a 700 or a 4L60 does. So although you might be gaining some strength, you're also gaining weight. That transmission's heavy, especially with the converter. The converters are a tank on it. That transmission was made to work. That's what they originally designed it for. It's just made to work. Um, that's why everything in it is cast iron except for the overdrive housing. The overdrive housing's aluminum, but everything else in it's cast iron or steel. It's a beast. Now, Danny, if you were to buy one that's supposedly operational, I wouldn't see 650, $700 for one that's supposedly works and doesn't need to be overhauled. But like I said, for a core, you shouldn't give more than $150 for a core. I found a couple. I have not dealt with a Terminator X yet, but I know that there's a couple of buddies of mine that have. Um, I'm still up in the air which way I want to go as far as a computer for Scarlett, because I need the adjustability, and it's going to be better off in the long run to replace the computer on it with something newer than what they come out with, just because of just that tunability. Um, and the processor is so much faster. I mean, you're talking about a processor that's, you know, 20th century versus something that was 19th century, which there's a huge difference, especially in the speed in which it can compute changes. Plus, the newer stuff, Holly uses a wideband O2 sensor, which is better for air fuel mixture. The only thing that I don't like about the Terminator X is it doesn't have the capability to run two wideband O2 sensors, one for each bank, which I'd prefer to see one that runs off of both bank. Yeah, Scott, that's not a bad price. A 700 R4 for, like I said, I've run across a couple down here. In fact, I think I bookmarked a couple. I mean, long tail turbo 400 for $400. Now, something like that, I could see giving $400 for it, because a long tail turbo 400's tough to find, because a lot of racers are snatching those up really fast. Yeah, see, they don't have any 700s listed right now. Couple V6 ones, but they look like the 60-degree V6, which the bell housing's more narrow on it. Oh lordy. Let's see. Yeah, in fact, there's none of those coming up right now. Well, here's one for 250, which is a four-wheel drive unit. I see they admit they're selling it as a core. They don't know anything about it, and they're wanting 250 for it. That's too much for one of those. It does have a K on the bell housing, um, which usually signifies it was a pickup version. The good thing is it does have a cable with it, which the cables are getting kind of tough to find too. But I imagine if you talk to the guy, you could probably get it for 100.5, and it's pretty close to me down here. They are out there. You just have to find them. See what else we got. Now here's a guy's listing free and old transmission and old car bumpers. Let's see what that says. And that looks to be a 350 turbo. It is. Transmission sold, it says. So lately, if you come across one, they're people are snatching them up, which not uncommon because, like I said, a lot of stuff's getting tough to find. What else we got here? Yeah, see, here's a 4L60E core for $100. That would be worth it. Got an Allison for 5-speed for $500. That's pretty cheap for an Allison. This looks like a 4L80. Oh no, it's Turbo 400 for $500. That's too much. Anyway, yeah, they're getting tougher to find for sure. See, here's somebody that wants $500 for a 700 R4. That's crazy. 1,600 for a T5. Anyway, get back to the deal here. Put a 92 GMC two-wheel drive and ran it for years. Yep. I can look for 700 R4 valve bodies. Get you on them. Salvage yard. Yeah, sometimes Scott, you get some, you win some, and sometimes you lose some. I mean, it just depends. Danny, I was on Marketplace. That seems to be like the go-to thing anymore for finding a lot of this stuff. It took kind of like it took the place of Craigslist. I don't know many people that get on Craigslist anymore. But all the same, the trash just ended up coming to Marketplace. Now here's another 700 R4 core, $150. It's a two-wheel drive. Needs a rebuild. I have an 87 Chevy pickup. It said it's missing an ear on the bell housing. Well, that's no bueno. Be good for parts, but I don't know. I'd want all my ears on my transmission for sure. How they broke that ear off, I'm not sure, but anyway. Just want to emphasize a not negotiable 700 R4 for $350. Oh, if you got a core, y'all, you can't ask, you know, used prices. If it's core, you know you got to go through it. I mean, it's just not. You can't ask an arm and a leg for stuff. You just can't. I mean, I know inflation's hurting everybody, but somebody's got to stop it somewhere. Huh. 4x4 4L60E rebuildable core with 2,500 installed for $300. That's interesting. Claiming it would slip out of gear under acceleration. Anyway, I don't know, but I watched a game today that was I guess the wife said it was a rerun. It was a um, Tennessee Titans and New York Giants, I think is what it was. It was a good game. Man, it was back and forth. Tennessee ended up pulling it off. But anyway, yeah. I was kind of mad because I was watching my Chiefs last weekend and they pulled it off the air. And the reason was uh, we pulled it or we changed the station, we changed the game format to go to a more competitive game. Well, I'm sorry. I was interested in watching the Chiefs play, not the other game. But anyway, well, looks like everybody's had about enough uh, of the live stream tonight. It's dwindling down to next to nothing. So I do believe that I am going to call it for tonight and hit the sack early or something. I don't know. I might hit the sack. I need to. I'm tired. So, that being said, thank you all for visiting. Thank you all for listening to me gab. I appreciate it. I appreciate you all. Keep liking and sharing and subscribing if you would on the videos. And um, thank you too, Danny. Um, and so hopefully we'll see you next week. But until then, make sure to call your loved ones. Tell them that you care and stay in touch with family because they're important. Um, but y'all take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless you and God bless America. Bye bye. Good night, everybody.